No idea what day it is, but welcome in anyway here, as I believe it's the college basketball tip-off show. Is that where we're on right now? I believe so. I believe we have college basketball back in some way, shape, or form. I think 19 games on the slate here tonight. It's good to have college hoops back. We're going to break a few of these games down, see if we can't come up with a couple of best bets for you along the way as we are getting that much closer to 2024. We've got three of the best here at WagerTalk to talk college hoops as Bryan Power in the house. Adam Trigger is here, as is Mr. Rob Vino, ready to roll here on this Thursday. Yes, we'll go with Thursday. Let us start with you there. And I definitely don't think it's Brian Leonard, but we'll call him, we've been called worse, but we'll just call him Bryan Power instead. Bryan Power, talk to me here about what exactly it is we are doing for a big game breakdown today.
Oh, it's a fluid situation. Great to be back here with you on the
certainly
program,
is.
Joe. What are we talking about now? I don't even know what I'm supposed to talk about. How about Oakland, Cleveland State? I know conference play is just getting started in most places across the country, Joe, but we have already seen some Horizon League games here in 2023. As a matter of fact, these two teams, each 1-1 in the conference standings. Overall, though, Cleveland State certainly in better form, back-to-back straight-up wins and a 4-0 ATS run. The two games that the Vikings lost but still covered were at St. Mary's and Kent State. So no shame there. Those are tough places to win at, obviously. Meanwhile, Oakland, they've lost 4 of 5 overall, both straight up and ATS. Only win and cover during that stretch was as a 6-point favorite at Eastern Michigan. You got to figure Cleveland State is going to be happy to be back home. They're 7-0. At home after all this year. But even though they're laying a short number, and that's probably attractive to some, I look at this game, buy low, sell high spot. I know it's Oakland's 4th straight on the road, but they've had a week off to recharge. And getting points this year, Joe, 6-2 ATS is Oakland. You look at the WagerTalk.com odds screen, I think the market is in agreement with me. This number has come down since the open. Ken Palm, they've got Oakland rated as the slightly better team, so Ken Palm's in agreement as well. Trig, who will be up next, I believe. He's our resident traveler here at Wager Talk, but I have been to the Wolstein Center many times, and I can tell you, Joe, there is no home court advantage there whatsoever 2 days after Christmas. I'll guarantee a good ticket's still available for this one. So I'll go with the road team if you're looking to play Oakland and Cleveland State. Like I said, I think it's buy low on Oakland, sell high on Cleveland State.
All right, good stuff there. Off and running game one there. Adam Trigger up and ready to go. You are the traveler. Are you at any particular game here today or this weekend? And what is the big game breakdown we're talking about?
Now I'm taking this weekend off. I'm going to attempt to do 2 games in one day next week. I'm going to fly out to Denver and I'm going to go to Air Force Utah State at 4 in the afternoon. Well, 2 o'clock in the afternoon there. And then I'm going to go to New Mexico, Colorado State at night. I couldn't pass up the chance to see 3 one-loss teams play in the same day. So you've got Utah State, Colorado State, New Mexico, all one-loss teams, and found a reasonably cheap flight out of Syracuse. So couldn't pass that up. But BP and I will have to plan to get to the Wolstein Center. I don't know if that'll happen this year because I don't know if I feel like seeing Cleveland State play basketball this year. I try to target teams that are like in good seasons. So I don't know if I get out to BP's neck of the woods, which I'm sure I will at some point. I don't know if it'll be the Wolstein Center, but we will hit that one at some point. Joe, I'm excited to have college basketball back. These bowls have been miserable. I've been doing absolutely miserable in the bowls. So I don't have a best bet on this small card, but I do have a couple games that I want to talk about. And the first one is, I don't know, is it the biggest number on the board, the biggest spread on the board today? It's Oklahoma and Central Arkansas, which I believe might be the biggest sort of disparity on the card. I believe we're talking about a 32-point dog here with Central Arkansas. But oftentimes when you're trying to handicap these huge numbers, I usually look for like 1 or 2 key things that would, suggest a number being like a little bit off. Brian Power did a great breakdown in a similar type game a couple weeks ago with St. Thomas and Marquette. It was a similar number, huge number, like 26, 27. And he kept it simple. He gave a couple reasons why St. Thomas might be able to hang in a game. And I think that's how you, like, anything, once you get above like 25, I really think that's how you have to handicap these massive spreads. Because listen, I'm not going to sit here and give you a breakdown of like matchup and position by position with Oklahoma and Central Arkansas, because Oklahoma is going to be better at every single position. We know that. You don't need me to tell you that. What I can tell you though is, based on how the schedule sets up, I do think Porter Moser is going to rotate aside pretty significantly here. They have another game in 3 days against Monmouth. If you look at the Green Bay game that Oklahoma played a couple weeks ago, they played 14 different players in that game. And knowing that the Monmouth game is like 2 days away, I think you might see like even more of a rotation, especially if Oklahoma gets up in the 20s here. If you get to the last 8 minutes of this game and Oklahoma's sitting there up like 28 points, I wouldn't expect to see the starters the rest of the game. And I think that's enough of a reason that you would want to potentially, not take Oklahoma here. What I do want to talk about though is Central Arkansas, because here's where I've got some like, decent info and a decent take that I think could put you on the Central Arkansas side. And that's, so Central Arkansas has been without Cameron Hunter all season. He's one of the best players in the Atlantic Sun on one of the worst teams. So Central Arkansas in their conference is at the bottom of their conference. Cameron Hunter is their best player. He's yet to play this season. And I would say like he's probably worth like 5 to 6 points to the number for this team. Now, I watched a Central Arkansas game about a week ago. They mentioned on the broadcast that he was probably going to play either in this game or in the Missouri game coming up this weekend. I think the goal, so the injury was such that it was supposed to keep him out 6 to 8 weeks. It happened like right before the season. And I know the goal for Central Arkansas is to get him back and playing in one of these next 2 games before conference play. Now, whether he's limited or not, I'm not sure. But I can tell you right now that just simply having him in any capacity is worth a couple points to the number. I think it would make the number more like 28, 29 instead of 31 and a half, 32. And, just from a numbers play, I think that's, that you'd have to consider a bet on Central Arkansas, because of that. The one thing that Central Arkansas from a matchup perspective that they might actually, do well or might keep them in this game is their ability to shoot free throws. If you get a scenario where Oklahoma's got all their reserves in, chances are the game's going to get messy. They're going to foul. That's what typically guys 9 through 14 off your bench, there's going to be fouling. It's going to get a little disjointed. Central Arkansas, 78th nationally in free throw shooting, 73.7% from the line. And their 2 best players are like 80+% free throw shooters. So, when you add all of that up, you're talking about a 30-point spread. It doesn't take much in terms of like, an advantage somewhere to cover 30. And that's all we're asking from Central Arkansas here. So I don't love these types of bets. I don't typically like make client plays where I'm like trying to catch 31, but it's a small card and this looks like one of the best things on the card. So big game breakdown. I like Central Arkansas, and keep an eye on Cameron Hunter. If he's not back this game, he's probably playing this weekend against Missouri.
All right, good stuff there. That game coming up a little bit later here today. Again, only 19 games on the card, but, an edge is to be had, here. Rob Vino knows that he's going to go, I believe, one of the later games out west here where everyone expects USC to be better than what they are. But wait a minute, everyone expected Oregon to be better than what they are, and both of them aren't that great here, Rob. So what gives here in this matchup tonight?
Yeah, this is going to be the first half of my Pac-12 daily double here today, Joe. We'll start with USC and Oregon. And, the season hasn't been kind to Oregon big men, right? They lose Dante in their first game. They lose Biddle 8 games ago, and kind of forced to go a different route as far as style is concerned here for the Oregon Ducks. A little smaller, a little quicker. That style kind of pushes me here into a play on the over because it matches up with what USC wants to do. the loss of the two big guys, obviously, and Oregon's had some time now to digest it and become what they are without these guys. But it really leaves a gaping hole in the middle that USC should be able to take advantage of. I mean, between the two guys, Vincent Iwuchukwu and Josh Morgan, both 7'1" and 6'11", you figure the interior should be controlled by USC here. There could be easy points at the rim for them. They'll probably protect the rim a lot better. And the rebounding for Oregon, they're going to have to make a lot of shots here because maybe there's not two chances at the rim. USC, just for what it's worth, guys, measures out to be the fourth tallest team in the country. Oregon now, without their two bigs, 293rd. It's a pretty big difference where height is concerned. USC guards like to penetrate. They're a 51% shooting team from two. So again, you got guys that attack the rim against a team that doesn't have a lot of rim defense. I see a lot of points being scored by USC here. Pace should be quick. USC does turn it over a lot, though, and Oregon forces turnovers. You can get a lot of points real quick by forcing turnovers on your home floor. So again, it's a spot for Oregon, 79th best team in the nation, forcing turnovers to get their share of points here. Both offenses pretty efficient, rank in the upper tier. Just some quick numbers here because we want to play over 150.5. The USC defense, and this is strictly because they go at pace, not because they're a rotten defensive team, but they've allowed 74 or more in each of their last 4 games in regulation. Long Beach State actually got to 79 if you count overtime. And the totals in those 4 games landed 163, 166, 165, 184. Well over 150.5, which is what we have here tonight. Oregon has scored 76 or more in 6 of the 7 games since Biddle got hurt. So obviously they are scoring a lot of points as well. Their last 3 games, 170, 190, and 169. They only had 146 after regulation. 169 was the final score total. So you get the gist here. These are a lot of high-scoring numbers, high-scoring teams, high possession teams, and Oregon's defense doesn't necessarily stop the team from shooting the ball quickly. Teams get it up real quick against them. USC, one last thing to add here to help our over case. They haven't shot better than 40.5% in their last 3 games. That's not good shooting. But all 3 of those games, they scored between 75 and 79 points. Imagine if some shots fall here for USC. They're probably going 80 plus. I think the number's too light here. It's been bet up a little bit since the opener, but 150.5 to me seems small. So we're going to play USC Oregon up and over the total in their Pac-12 opener.
All right, expecting points, and more points coming your way in that one here tonight. And hopefully there is a lot of profits coming your way. One surefire way to do that is by hitting the subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, because when it comes to daily head-to-head content here of the biggest games of the day and during the week, we've got you covered here at WagerTalk TV. We've got best bets coming your way. That was a little appetizer. We are going to head to those best bets now. We're going to bring it back full circle to Bryan Power, ready to roll here tonight. Again, just 19 games on the college basketball slate, but as Trig alluded to, it's good to finally be talking about college sports where at least we have somewhat of an idea of who the players are in the game. Bryan Power, why don't we go ahead and kick it off, and you let us know exactly the best bet and the game you circled for us here tonight.
Yeah, Joe, I'll be getting to my best bet, which is on UC Riverside, UC Irvine in just a moment. But just to let everyone know what I've got going on at WagerTalk.com, we are off a 3-0 sweep on Wednesday that included the $2 customer appreciation play on USC +7. My sources indicate Caleb Williams did not, in fact, opt out of that game. He was just benched for Miller Moss, the better option, Joe. I think that's what we saw at the Holiday Bowl last night. But in all seriousness, we've started today with a winner as we are on the air now. Had the under in that SMU BC game, so another bowl winner in the books. I've got 2 more to come today and some basketball as well. It's been a really good month, and we look to keep it rolling through the new year. Now, let's talk about this best bet, shall we? Out in the Big West, Riverside and Irvine. Despite losing 4 of their last 5 games, this is going to be an odd thing to say, I still like UC Irvine. They're 8-3 ATS on the year, 71st in the Ken Pom ratings, and they should be considered the favorites to win this conference. I think it should also be noted, all 4 losses for the Anteaters this season have been on the road. 2 of them by a total of 5 points. The other 2 were at hard places to play, Utah State, New Mexico. Trig talked about some of those teams earlier. But UC Irvine's, they've won at USC. They've beaten Toledo on a neutral floor as well. So I think this is going to be a get-right spot for Irvine against a Riverside team that they have dominated through the years, Joe. 20-2 straight up the last 22 meetings, including a perfect 4-0 straight up ATS the last 2 seasons. And it's a deep team that Irvine has. No player averages more than 26 minutes per game. Very good team defensively, 34th in adjusted efficiency at Ken Pom. They do not give up a lot of threes. And it's just the 4th home game of the season. This is something I look at. Teams, I talked about Cleveland State. They'll be happy to be at home tonight, but we're going to still fade them. Well, they've played a lot at home. UC Irvine, this is just their 4th home game and only the 2nd since November 17th. So I expect a fired up effort from the home team, especially coming off a loss to New Mexico last week. You look at Riverside's resume, just 4 wins, 1 against a non-D1 team. The other 3 were against Green Bay, North Dakota, and Idaho, all of whom stink outside the top 250, in Ken Pom. The Highlanders don't shoot the 3 well, so since Irvine doesn't give up a lot of attempts, the underdogs not get a lot of points from behind the arc in this game, in my opinion. Riverside shooting worse than 40% from the field. That's not going to get it done on the road. While UC Irvine, 63rd in the country in effective field goal percentage. So I think this should be a blowout. This number came down pretty far overnight, Joe. I think it was as low as 11, as you see on the screen. We've seen some buyback over the course of the afternoon. I would play this to 15. UC Irvine, best bet for the show today.
All right, Irvine, it is as a lot of games out west here today, proven to have maybe a little bit of value as we move on down the line here. Trig, you went to the biggest damn spread on the board here in the big game breakdown. What do you got following up for the best bet here today?
Yeah, so first, the only thing I have up for sale is a 5% NFL play. I've hit 4 straight 5%ers, so I hope to make it a 5th this weekend in the NFL. And I didn't make a client. I don't have a client play for college basketball today. It was a smaller card. But this was the closest I came. And I guess I'll start by why I didn't put it on the client card, or why it's still sort of a lean for me. And it's just because I don't know enough about Bakersfield. UC San Diego, I have a pretty strong opinion on. They're a team I've been wanting to play against. But Cal Bakersfield, admittedly, I just don't have a good grasp on this team. And they are all over the place. One game, they drop 96 and win by 20 against South Dakota. The next game, the game before, they score 50 and lose to Fresno State. They have a 40-point effort against Tarleton. It's just their results are all over. The offensive numbers aren't very good. Theoretically, they should be better because they should be better than they were last year, because they were crippled by injury last year, maybe more so than any team in the country. But I wish I had a better feeling about them to make it like a client play. That's the only reason I'm staying off of it, because I really want to play against UC San Diego. So again, I just wanted to make that point. If you've got a good beat on Bakersfield and you feel comfortable with them here, then I have no problem with that, because UC San Diego is absolutely a team I'm willing to play against right now. I think that this team it's just, in my opinion, they're just so due for like coming back to earth. Like, there's no way they could have improved this much defensively from last year to this year. And just, I've just been watching them rain in shots. I took it on the chin with Sacramento State last week. Had a best bet on Sacramento State, UC San Diego. I think they hit every shot in the first half. I can't remember a miss. I mean, they bring in, they have a D2 transfer that hadn't played all year. Tyler McGee comes in, hits like 6 threes right away, scores 22 points. And then he does the same thing against Cal. And he's not a guy that like I sort of expected much from. So, Bryce Pope's a great scorer. He's definitely one of the better scorers in this conference. And that's from a roster construction standpoint, that's what you're going to get with San Diego. They've got some shooters. They've got like 4 dudes that can score and really play. not counting the D2 transfer that came and just torched me when I played against them with Sacramento State. But outside of that, there's not a whole bunch of depth on this team. And they played no defense last year, none. So I don't know how they just got like much better defensively. There's an effort. BP and I were at the sports book in Boston a couple of weeks ago. I look up, they're beating San Diego State. Eventually lost that game, I believe, by 1. But I'm not buying it. It is the main point I want to make with this UC San Diego team. I do think they can score. I think they have like some nice scoring options. But Bakersfield's the type of team, Rod Barnes has been there forever. He will he'll make a game ugly. Like it works better when he's got the right personnel. I'm not sure if he has that this year, but he can make a game very ugly. They'll get out in transition. The problem with Bakersfield, they're so inconsistent shooting the ball. They're horrible at shooting the ball from distance. But this is a scenario where I think they could get up and down the floor a little bit. And that 8 points feels right in this matchup. So it just missed my client card. Wasn't confident enough to make it like a 4% play or a client play. But it's certainly my strongest lean on Thursday. I'm looking for a spot to fade UC San Diego. Maybe this is it. But if not, keep an eye on this team. I think they're going to be a good play against at some point.
All right, good stuff. Playing a little bit above the rim there. UC San Diego might be time to take a look and get that fade rolling on here tonight against Bakersfield. That's another West Coast game coming up. We got one more with Rob Vino, best bet time coming up. And you talked USC. I guess it's fitting that you're going to talk UCLA now as well there, Vino. Which way you going in this one tonight against Oregon State?
Well, Mick Cronin against Wayne Tinkle. You tell me which way I'm going. We're going to play this thing
definitely
under.
not over. Yeah,
it's
definitely not over.
Right? Not with these two guys roaming the sidelines. Yeah, we're going to try this one under the 128 that's currently posted here. Again, Pac-12 opening night. Both of these teams in their first league game. Two of the best defenses in this conference so far. UCLA only allowing just a shade under 39% from the field and under 30% from 3. Oregon State, 40% field goal percentage allowed, a little under 31 from 3. So both really solid on that end of the floor. UCLA in road games and in competition that's upper tier, the defense has been really good. Went to Villanova, held them to 56. Played Gonzaga on a neutral, held them to 65. Played Ohio State on a neutral, held them to 60. Home to Maryland, held them to 60. Marquette only got them for 69. So you can see by these results, UCLA just does not give up points to really good competition. I'm not going to say Oregon State is really good offensive competition. So they should be okay on the defensive end of the floor here. It's two of the slowest tempoed offenses in the nation. USC 308 in adjusted tempo and Oregon 289. So slow teams with great defenses. Pretty hard not to play under when they make the number in this range of 128. As far as their defenses are concerned and the transition into this, UCLA gets back on defense. They make opponents take 18.4 seconds to shoot a shot. That's 339 in the country. Very tough to get a shot off quick against them. You know who's 332? Oregon State. Just a tenth of a second less they allow the other team to shoot in 18.3. So these opportunities are not going to be plentiful. UCLA's done a pretty good job not fouling this year, so I don't expect to see a ton of free throws in this game, especially throughout the first 46 minutes or so, 38 minutes or so. Oregon State hasn't faced a defense like this all season long, so I do wonder if they'll be able to shoot good in this game. I don't think they will. They're both poor shooting teams to begin with. UCLA, it's hard to believe, Joe, that they rank in the 300s in both 2-point and 3-point field goal shooting. They played really good competition, I get it, but they're just not a straight bunch of shooters this year. You start adding all of this up, and it can only point you in one direction here. A conference opener, which figures to have a lot of focus, a lot of intensity, I think under 128 is the right way to go here. That's the way I'm going to play it. UCLA, Oregon State under 128.
You'd be lucky to get to 100 points in that one there, Vino. So, yeah, should be a lot of fun. Our good friends over at the Gold Sheet, well, they've got themselves a Gold Sheet play of the day, and they, too, are going to head out west, talk about the Gauchos there, UC Santa Barbara taking on UC Davis, and they are looking for a higher scoring game here, unlike the one Vino just broke down. In fact, they're talking about these two games last season had 158 and I believe 175 as a total there, not to mention the UC Davis defense coming in at a great 337 in effective field goal shooting, number 322 in three-point shooting. Ultimately, they are letting teams have what they want. When you put it all together between these two teams, over is the only way to look here. Great write-up on this game, too, over at goldsheet.com. If you haven't checked that out yet, go ahead and do so. It's a great website with great info across the board, write-ups on all the games. Definitely want to be a part of goldsheet.com. All right, that'll do it. Best bets, 3 big game breakdowns. These guys, they told you they got best bets locked and loaded over at WagerTalk.com. Great idea for you to go visit Bryan Power as well as Adam Trigger and Rob Vino. Get those best bets going. Partner up with them now as we get ready for a huge weekend coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, NFL, college football continuing to roll on, college basketball back. Little something for everybody. And if it is head-to-head matchup videos you're looking for, more best bets, just click on that video on your screen right now here, and you'll get access to all the great head-to-head Big 25, top 50, top 100 games coming up over the next 2 to 3 days. It's just a click away. Best of luck with all your plays. We'll see you again tomorrow here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show.